Hey folks, this is a ton of open studio nightly at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to go ahead and give this 10 minutes to let people get into chat, get ready. I need to download people's tracks. In case this is your first time, this is a nightly stream. Starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. You can send tracks in throughout the day to atonuvrecords at gmail.com. That's in the description. It's all over the place. And I'll take a listen to your tracks and give kind of mastering style, top down, pushback, feedback on your mix. And then delve into like some nitty gritty moves that could get made to, you know, uh, make the mix even better. And yeah, feel free to send stuff in now. I think I've got about 6 tracks already in my email, so I'm going to get those going. Last night was awesome. We went like 3.5 hours straight uh, of just pure mixed feedback. It was really great. It was the best night that we've had so far on the stream, so I really appreciate people sharing the link around. If you want to do that, that's great because this is very community driven, is how this stream works. So definitely spread the word. And yeah, just giving it about 10 minutes. Like if you're watching on the replay later, I get into actually doing stuff about 10 to 15 minutes into the stream. So just giving everyone a minute to hop on board. Feel free to send in tracks. Yeah, and not to forget, there is a Patreon to kind of keep this thing going. I do this out of, I'm a big believer and supporter of like open source knowledge. So that's why I'm doing it. But the Patreon exists to kind of help out. So that's in the description as well. So I'm just going to download some tracks real quick. And stuff can get sent to atonuvrecords at gmail.com. The I prefer like a lossless file, like a wave. MP3s will do in a pinch. Some people have sent like links to SoundCloud and YouTube. I can totally listen to stuff, but the way that I've got my system routed, I'm not going to be able to play those back on stream. I'm just going to be listening like in my room, which is totally fine. And I can get a good picture of what's going on in your mix. But if you send a file, I can play it on stream and also, use my meters and stuff and dig in and like poke around on your track. So that is preferred, but not necessary. Also, if you have something that you're working on and it's like really rough and it's a demo or it's a final mix and you don't want it to get leaked before you release it, just let me know in the email and I'll play it muted so that the world doesn't hear it, that it's just for me. So feel free to do that. Just make sure you make a note of it in the email. Otherwise, I'm going to play it on stream, and I don't want to get on anyone's bad side. So there's that. And also, if you've done like a mix where you are like rapping or singing over someone else's beat or a 2-track, let me know so that I mute it on stream so that I don't get clapped with a copyright thing. So yeah, look out for me a little bit on that. And at any point, if you have like a question about audio stuff, feel free to ask in chat. Also, if you've sent something in, do a little shout in chat so that I know you're here so that I can get to your track while you're live. Okay, I think that is all of the like housekeeping stuff. So it looks like we're still hanging around and waiting for people to get in. So 10-ish minutes, and then we're going to get into it. Hey, and I just saw I'm simulcasting on YouTube and Twitch. So Ceylon just said hey. So what's up? Ceylon, if you sent a track, just let me know and then I can you'll be first in queue. I'll be getting the tracks in about 10 minutes. Oh, cool. Ceylon, I just I found your email. You're Greg and you emailed a couple of days ago. So, yeah, I'm going to download your track right now. Okay, cool. And you just sent a second track. I will totally get that loaded up and the I'll see if any I've got like it looks like I've got like 6 to 8 tracks as it is. We'll see if other people come in to chat. Last night I went for 3.5 hours, which is I would say is probably my max amount of time that I can give like actually good advice. So let's see how much I've got in me today. Right. All right. Ben Kane, I emailed you. I just realized the link that you sent me is a link to this stream. So I think uh you might have to I'll email you, but that's a whoops. Okay, we've got something from Garrett. And yeah, if you're just joining, I'm just getting set up and also giving people time to get on stream. And if you are watching the replay in the future, actual content starts to happen 10 or so minutes into the stream. All right, cool. Just getting everyone downloaded. So, I'm just gonna, give the whole deal a few times while this is all getting set up. So this is a ton of Open Studio. I'm Scott. I run a ton of records. I am a mastering engineer that also does a fair amount of mixing, and I run this stream nightly, 6 p.m. Eastern. People can send tracks to a ton of records at gmail.com. I'll load them up and give like mastering style, top down feedback on a mix. And also, we generally wind up talking about like very specific mixing and production techniques. You can always feel free to ask a question in chat. I mean, that's basically the deal. That's what we're doing here. And as of this exact moment right now, I am giving people a little bit of time to get into the stream and, uh, all of that. If you have a track and you've sent it already, I'm getting those loaded up. If you are in chat and want to get in line so that I'm giving feedback while you are here, just always, shout out somewhere. I'm simulcasting on YouTube and Twitch. I have both chats open. I'm watching them come in. And then I'm also watching my inbox. So I shouldn't miss you. And also, I think I've said it a couple of times, but yesterday was awesome. We had a whole bunch of new people come in, and did 3.5 hours of really solid stuff. It was really cool to meet a bunch of new folks. This is really fun to do. And yeah, I think that all came from like one Reddit thread that Mason, who is a member of the community here, posted, and I really appreciate it when people do stuff like that, because this is really like word of mouth. I'm not like doing like big advertising or marketing for this. I'm a engineer that believes in open source like education and knowledge, and I like to take a couple hours of my day and do this, and that's like literally it. There's no catch. uh I'm not gonna make you sell skin cream or something. So I appreciate the organic stuff. Right, we're starting to I I try not to get distracted by like view counts and stuff like once we're actually rolling, but just for now I want to make sure that we're getting folks on before I start to actually go through stuff. We're starting to pick up steam. So, giving it a couple of minutes. This is a ton of open studio. You can send tracks in anytime. People send stuff in throughout the day, and I load those up and get those ready. But also, feel free to send in tracks like midstream, and I'll get to them. So, if you are in chat and you have sent something, be sure to let me know you're here so that I can get to your track while you're in the room. And like a lossless file is preferred if you have it. I can listen to YouTube links and stuff, but with the way that this is all routed through OBS, it's not going to play back on stream. So just be aware of that. And also, opposite to that, if you have something that you don't want to get played on stream, just let me know in the email that you send, and I'll play it off stream so that people don't hear like a rough demo that you don't want out, or a leak before it's officially released. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get Cylon's track loaded up. Let me make sure that I have the right one. Okay, so this is the strip. So, Cylon is a new artist. You're just learning mixing. Now, that's the other thing. I'm seeing that, especially in December of 2020, I think that a lot of people started feeling like they should learn a new skill a few months ago, because of where we're at. And this is like the perfect time to pick up some mixing stuff. So, I'm very happy to help out with like people that are absolutely beginning. So, we can go into like very, very specific mix stuff. And also, if you have just like any sort of question about like the entire recording process, I'm happy to answer because I know that's just like where a lot of people are at right now. And I think it's, people making the best out of what is going on. Cool. And also, I read chat out loud so that people on the different platforms know what's going on. And also, I'm on like there's a delay between me and what gets broadcast. So I also don't want people to get like lost in the sauce. So Cylon has been making music for a year. They took a music production mentorship. That's awesome. And it's getting wrapped up. So that's a really great way to use your time. So good, good work. All right, the DAW's firing up, and we are going to take a listen to this track. All right, so this is the strip. And full disclosure, I'm going to open up my DAW, and when I'm doing these, I pull up a loudness meter and a frequency analyzer. Now, we should always make judgments based off of what we're hearing in our environment, uh, and then check our observations against a graph. But for the sake of the stream, I think it's just fun to kind of be able to watch along and see what's happening, get a little bit of visual feedback. So that's what's happening here. All right, let's play this track. This is cool. cool. All right. I think that once this gets dialed in, awesome vibe. I love the textures. I love the vibe. I love what you're going for. We just have to, um, we got to take care of a couple of things. So, my number one thought on this is your snare sounds. So here's the thing: you've got a great sounding snare here. You picked a really good sample. It is a good sounding snare, and the thing is that when we have a good sounding snare, we're like, yes, I found a snare. And what has happened is that snare is just dominating your mix in a way that is too much. It is too much of that snare. So specifically what's happening is it's basically like we can watch it happen in graph world. Your snare exists as the predominant sound from 250 all the way up to 8K. Like the entire sonic spectrum is just snare. So there's a degree of we could just turn that snare down and push everyone hotter, or we could think of it in a more engineering way because like uh, the snare sounds good. Maybe just pull it back like in general and give everyone else a scooch, but also it's like what I'm missing is that lead line, that cool little keyboard part. It's a nice melody and it absolutely it would be really awesome, but I just literally like it's almost invisible in the mix. So one thing outside of just like snare down, melody up is carve out some of the mid range on that snare just a little bit, and then give that melody a little bit of love in that same region, like 500 1.5K, and then let the snare be beefy at 250 and then snappy at like 1.5K. With a little bit of wood at like 500. So as far as like workflow, I would probably just bring the snare down 3 to 6 dB, just balance it out, find that sweet spot, and then do an additional little bit of EQ carving so that the keyboard can fit in. And from there, I would also say that your low end is pretty controlled. You've got a kick happening at like 50. That's pretty nice, and it's like nice and tight and controlled. Uh, the uh, the bass is also pretty invisible, and I would just like get that bass into like the 100 to 200 region. If you've watched the stream, you know that that's kind of like what I always do, but it's like almost always the right decision. Not in every single case, but I could tell you that in this case, it would be the correct decision. Get that bass living between 100 to 200, and then if you're finding that it's not slamming on consumer speakers, then give the bass some love somewhere in the 500 to 900 region. And then you're going to have a nice bass. You could also consider running it through like a Fairchild or for this vibe, I would go Fairchild over 1176 because it's a little bit. I find it an inherently groovier compressor. Like I always think of just like the Fairchild bass is the it's like the Paul McCartney thing, and I tend to be kind of Beatles centric when I think about engineering because a lot of a lot of our studio ideas kind of stem from those recordings. So I want kind of a like on this track. I'm thinking that it would be nice to have like a round like kind of bouncing bass that hits in the right way. And I would go Fairchild, and you could just kind of saturate that Fairchild a little bit, not so much to grab like a bunch of gain reduction, but to grab some saturation and get that bass sitting in the mix. All right, I'm going to go back to chat and see if anything has happened. Yeah, all right. Elias pointed out that the YouTube is like a minute behind Twitch, and yeah, not much that I can do about that. So if you want like a more immediate interaction, you could check out the Twitch stream. That's at a ton of. So yeah, Cylon, great track. Just that's what we gotta. I would focus on that. And then as it stands, it's it's also quite soft. So we would want to like slam that into a limiter. Yeah, I guess folks are abandoning YouTube, and that's okay. I want to build up this Twitch. While I was waiting for my internet to get reliably connected, I had decent download speed, but my upload was all messed up. So I got into watching some Twitch stuff, and I was like, "This is pretty. It's a cool platform." All right, Elias just sent in a track, so I'm gonna go ahead and load that up. If you're watching, this is a ton of Open Studio. You can send in tracks anytime to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. Get some top-down style feedback on it. And if you're in chat and you've sent in something, let me know you're here so that I can get to your track while you're live with me. So we'll go ahead and get to Elias's track. All right, so this is a track that you produced and mixed. It's part of it's the same small album project that you sent in yesterday. So we're gonna have a similar vibe. Or maybe it's not a similar vibe, and maybe it's like a wild card. I shouldn't be presumptive. All right. Okay, let's take a listen.
Baby girl, I thought we had so much potential. Turns out that you were not essential. You were always trying to figure out my past, but you know I had to keep it confidential. Every time I close my eyes, I see a face. All these memories that I cannot erase. Screaming up to God, get me out of this place. Get me out of this place. Get me out of this place. It's so hard to be right here when I'm not close enough to you. Did you hear my calls? Wonder why I had to go and lose you too. And if I fucked up, I'm fucked up. Had to lose it all, I think. This is really it, I think. So this is really it, I think.
I'm rolling up another joint to ease the pain, trying to ignore this empty feeling in my chest. You ripped my heart out, girl, you knew me the best, but I lay it to rest, popping Molly just to feel okay, but in the end I'm still depressed. Girl, you made me a mess, got me feeling possessed, hoping I don't wake up when I'm going to bed. I wish I never met you. I still see you when I close my
it's so hard to be right here when I'm not close enough to you. Did you hear my calls? Wonder why I had to go and lose you too. And if I fucked up, I'm fucked up. Had to lose it all, I think. This is really it, I think. So this is really it, I think.
Okay, I think it is cool. Couple of things. So, uh, first off, let me check something before I just talk out of my butt. All right. So there is some room to kind of spread stuff around. My so just first off, big picture. Vocals are a hair hot. Not as much as I remember last night's track. They were like really, really, really forward, and also fighting for that like 1 to 2K region with the samples. This is much more in line. Um, I would still. This is more like I'm getting into like some artistic suggestions here rather than pure technical stuff. But I would bring those vocals in just a hair more. Now, it could just be as simple as pulling it back a little bit. They say that the best mid-range EQ is your fader. That's kind of the engineering Zen master wisdom. So maybe just a hair back on the overall volume. Simplest solution might be the best solution. You could also consider notching out a bit of space from like 1 to 2K, and that would bring them back into the mix a little bit. Also worth considering maybe some compression, like a flavor compressor. 1176, just a hair. Like once again, like we're looking for maybe like 2 dB of actual gain reduction, but just like a little bit of flavor to give them some body as well. So this is very close. So like first things first, probably vocals back in one of those ways or a combination or all three. It would be worth taking a look at. We're also dealing with what I want to happen is the snare is living really exclusively from like 3K to 6K. So we're pushing on like overly bright on that snare, and besides just being like kind of exclusive in that region, so it might be like maybe we could consider a different sample. I know that like genre wise, like we want something pretty snappy, but it could also use like a bit of punch so that it translates. So we're talking about something that has something between 200 and 300, and also we get like that nice like kind of like sticky attack at like 1.5K, where we are. That is where like that sample is living and that vocal is living. But if the snare was living there a little bit too, we might get something really nice, and we might need to kind of carve around it. Now, that also gets us into those hats and then the overall spectrum on this song. Basically, around 10K, we start to lose everything. So it's just like a filter, and there's a degree of like it's lo-fi, but also if you look at like a lot of the lo-fi stuff, it's like it actually has stuff up to 20K, and that's there's other things happening that's just like a little more saturated, a little more distorted. So I would want to open this up a little bit and let those hats live higher. And so you could kind of like, if you scooted your snare down just a little bit and then brought those hats in, because the hats are really lost in the mix because they're kind of just fighting with the snare, because the snare is living like in that 3 to 6K region, and then all that's left for the hats is like 6 to 9K, but they're not even really present there. They're kind of just sitting alongside the snare. So, open it up, let the hats provide some air on your mix, and then kind of like readjust things and slide them down uh, into that. Your low end is really nicely controlled, and this is definitely better than what I heard yesterday. And I really liked what was yesterday. Like, I love the ethereal samples and stuff. Like, I like listening to stuff like this. So that's how I would address it. And then also on just like the final vision, this is probably just like you threw it into a limiter for demo purposes, but just so you know, like as it stands right now, it could be a couple notches higher. I think we're living like around -10 RMS. This could easily live at the -8 level and be genre appropriate and competitive. Just so you know. So if you have any other questions, like definitely feel free to ask specific stuff in chat. But very cool. I like what you do. And I guess last thing, like it's like those vocals are a little hot, and then on some parts I can hear that you're tuning them. Or you have like auto tune as an effect, genre appropriate. There's a couple of sections throughout it where it's still just a little bit pitchy, and if you're already tuning, then I would probably just like tune those to be 100% dialed in. Uh, I'm not even like I'm not like a auto tune fanatic. I'm kind of like a what I love is like raw garage rock, but you already kind of like halfway did it, so it's weird if it goes from like tuned to being just a little bit off. So I would take the time and just slide those moments exactly in. Okay, sweet stuff. Let me see. I'm gonna go back to chat. And all right, let's see. Cool. So, as it is, this is a ton of open studio. If you're wondering what's going on, I am Scott. I am a mastering engineer, and every night at 6 p.m. Eastern, you can send tracks like kind of throughout the day. I'll get them loaded up, and we can do live feedback on your mixes and everything. Just send them to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. Put Open Studio in the subject line so I know it's for the stream. And if you've got something that you don't want played on stream because you are, it's a work in progress, or you don't want it leaked, just let me know in the email and I'll play it off stream so that that doesn't happen. All right. And if you are watching and in chat and you've sent me something, just let me know that you're here so that I can get to you while we are live. And Elias just said you were trying to keep some of the naturalist to it, but you guess you missed the mark a bit. Yeah, I totally understand. I am all for like a natural vocal. It's only because if you didn't have like really, really tuned vocals at one point and then go to those, I would be like, this is a natural thing and this is what you're going for. And especially if those vocals were just like brought into the mix a little bit, I would be like, no harm, no foul. But it's only because we have a few sections that are really tuned and a few that aren't. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it like literally a minute. And if if you are here and you've sent a track, let me know and I will get to you next. If not, I am going to check out Spaghetti from, I think it was Garrett. So I'm going to get that queued up. But I definitely prefer listening to stuff when, like, the person is in chat, because then we can actually go through stuff. Otherwise, I'm kind of like talking into the void, but you know, I do have a good time anyway. So, yeah, this will be Spaghetti from Garrett. They saw the post on Reddit. Once again, thank you people that have been sharing this link. This is an unfinished song that you are relatively close to finishing. You've got a shaky verse, and a second verse that needs to be done, but you're feeling like something is missing in the mix. Cool. So that's where we're at. Cool. And yeah, Cylon, I will get to you after Garrett's track if no other folks come in that have done stuff. I'll do a little break and then we'll hit that. Okay. I have to pile it around and load these things in. So here is Spaghetti. Okay.
And I bleed, I sweat, I long, I press, I play to breathe another day. Hey. And you know that I love to be myself. Take a bow for all you've done, 'cause it ain't great, but I think it's enough. Hey.
Okay. Uh, Garrett, I mean, first things first, I think this is a really, really, really sweet song. And that is the single most important thing. Like, huge classic vibes on this. And I just really, 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 really like this song. And, you know, this is what we should be most concerned about. Great song. Trumpet sounds really good. It's a cool line. It's just this is really well arranged. I really, really, really like it. Now, there is a lot going on in the mix stage that needs to be addressed. And definitely feel free, like if you watch this on repeat, definitely just hop on to chat at some point, and we can do a back and forth and just really dial in your kind of like mixing organization and mixing hygiene and your workflow, because I can kind of, just from like listening and seeing what's happening, I have suspicions about how this is getting like organized. And it's so boring. This is like one of the most boring things about mixing, but it is one of the most important things. Like there is a lot of it's a Chris Lord algae thing, and there's a lot of uh like behind the mix. You can just watch CLA mix for like 10 hours. And he'll spend a large amount of his time just organizing sessions so that everything is happening in the right places at the right time, and it's all organized, and everything is just like kind of standardized and has a level of hygiene, and it makes just a huge difference. And I would really want to dial this in with you. um like, first things first, a lot of stuff is clipping. Like, so I don't know if you are, you might be mixing into a limiter or not mixing into a limiter, but not paying attention to like gain staging and stuff. So what we want to do is make sure that that is clean from the get-go. So everything's going to need to get kind of like restructured in your room, in your listening environment, how you're monitoring, like volume adjustments and all of that. Because first things first, we're clipping, and it's betraying a really, really good song and an otherwise really good recording. Okay, so we've got some clipping issues that would need to be addressed, and I'd hop on anytime into chat, and we can figure it out and dial it in on that level. So clipping's got to get addressed. Now, the other thing that we've got going on is another snare that is too big. It's occupying like 500 to 3K. I think if I remember, I got off on that gain staging tangent. So your snare is really, really, really big, and it's got to get cut away in some places, and the vocal is living like exclusively from 200 to 500, so it's really, really boxy and muddy and all of that, and it doesn't have any definition or presence in the mix. And I think that you're doing really cool stuff vocally, and like it's cool lyrics, it's a cool song, but you've got it buried down in the dirt. So like you have like a baritone, so that's where you're that's where the fundamental is, and that's why it's so highlighted. But you gotta, like, when we have a voice that's living so heavily in a frequency region, we need to figure out how to excite it and get it more forward, like evenly throughout the mix. And that's the thing with like baritone singers. We need to kind of like get it hyped up in the upper mids, and then sopranos we need to beef up in the lower mids. And I would basically go about I would start by using some sort of like analog style EQ. I would probably do a Pultec because that's just what I use all the time. And I would do some like boosting in the upper mids on your vocal with that, but also cutting away on the snare, like simultaneously there. So make some room for the vocal where the snare is, and then put the vocal there. The Pultec offers a degree of saturation and excitement without using like an exciter. I'm That's where my head's usually at. I want to use like an EQ or a compressor with a degree of excitement and saturation rather than reaching for like the Saturator 9000. That's my personal thing, because like with a Pultec you can pick the frequency range, and it's just like, yeah, this is where I want it to be a little bit more. So uh yeah, give those vocals some love in the upper mids. Now, the other thing is your entire track, you've got a hole from like 2 to 3K. There's just nothing living there. And that might be the fault of some it's either an accident or there's a lot of internet mixing tips and tricks. And sometimes you get into a rabbit hole and there'll be like 2K is the evil frequency, and we don't want that in the track because it can be, it'll be piercing. And people say this about like 4K or 5K, and they just kind of pick one. And the more important general truth there is that frequencies in the upper mid range, if they are either unpleasant on the source at which that lives, or if we're edging it up too far in the mix, it can be ear fatiguing, and it can be piercing, and it can be unpleasant. But the reason that 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K, 6K can be unpleasant is because the human ear is more attuned to those frequencies. They're overrepresented in how we hear, and we're more sensitive to those areas. So if you push it too far, it sounds harsh. But the thing is if we take too much away from that region, it is just as detrimental, if not more, than having too much in those upper mids, because it's going to make the track feel empty. And right now we're dealing with a lot of instruments that feel a little bit empty. So you've got a bunch of stuff sucked out from 2K. Also, if we think about the way that the octave spectrum spreads, so octaves are double frequencies, right? So 500 to 1K is an octave, 1K to 2K is an octave, 2K to 4K is an octave. So because you've got this hole from 2K to 4K, that's an entire octave of information where you could be putting your instruments, and you've got kind of a cramped mix. So if you just scooted things, we could think of it as arranging on a piano, if everything is kind of glommed into this region on the keyboard, we could just spread open into another octave and then have more room in our mix. So we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. Your mix is a little bit cramped, and also your mix is a little bit dead. So just throw some stuff into that 2K to 4K region. Also, it's really shaved down after 10K. And same deal, I would throw some there's a shaker that's barely there in the mix because it's fighting against the snare, and it's throw that shaker out into space a little bit, and then narrow the snare's involvement in the frequency spectrum, and it's going to be a lot more balanced right there. A lot of where the mix is really good is I really love everything that is in that 250 to 1K region. That's where all of the warmth is, and it's just going to naturally be really nice there because you're using all of these nice organic sounds and instrumentation and arranging. So you've got it dialed in that region, and that's the crucial region for our mix, and it just sounds nice and warm and organic, but it's betrayed by being a little bit cramped and clipping. So dial that in, and then finally your bass and your kick are fighting. Your bass is occupying like everything from like 150 all the way down to 0. Just carve out some space in the like 40 to 70-ish region for your kick to live. And then, maybe excite your bass in the like 90, 100, 200, and then your bass will sit better and your kick will sit better. Yeah, that's basically it. Garrett, awesome song. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens once this is dialed in, because it is rock solid. All right. So, folks, this is a Ton of Open Studio. If you want to send something in for some mix feedback, feel free to do so at any time. That's at atonuvrecords@gmail.com. And files are preferred to like links to YouTube or SoundCloud. If you have something that you don't want played on stream, just let me know. And if you are watching and you have submitted something, you could say what's up in chat, and I'll get to your mix while you are live with me. And if you have any questions at any time about anything audio related, feel free to drop it in chat, and I'll get to it. So we're going to go ahead and take another peek at a Cylon track and go from there. Talk about that peak. Okay, I love this track. Like, once again, like, great vibe. I want to, sorry to cut it short, but I want to, like, dive right into fixing this up. So, okay, first question. So, this is Take Me Down Master 1. So, you're trying out some mastering, and, the common like wisdom is like, don't master your own stuff. and I am a mastering engineer, but I'm not like a hawk about it. Like it's good to learn skills, and the thing is if you know more about mastering, then if you wind up using a mastering engineer and you know more stuff, it's actually I like working with clients that know stuff, and then we can dial stuff in like really, really like crystal clear together. So I kind of like it when people master their own stuff. Now, here's my question. Do you master Did you master this track in the same mix session, or did you export this into did you take your mix and then do the master in another session? Cool. So, uh, what you want to do if you're gonna master your own mix, the beginning stage of doing a better job would be to you got to export your mix and then master it in a new session. It's a workflow thing. It's a brain refresh, and also you're just gonna see things in a different way. So, because when we're mastering, we want to address global problems. Now, the other question I've got is: are you mixing into a limiter? Okay, cool. So, you're not mixing into a limiter. Great. That is a good place to be. So, um, here basically I'm just trying to like diagnose your workflow, because there's a problem. Basically, uh, that peaking that you saw is the dynamic range. You aren't clipping is the thing. You're not clipping your max value, but that once that like bassy lead synth comes in, it's slamming into your limiter so hard that you've completely and totally pinned your dynamic range, the like the loudest point of your track versus the softest point of your track, and that is getting crushed to death, which is in modern production, that is like the last frontier of like, yeah, we really can't do this as far as loudness. We can have uh really, really high RMS, perceived loudness over time, average loudness. Like we can be just slamming that RMS. And we can also like low key, we can be peaking. So we can be clipping like digitally like a little bit. Um, and like I don't do it, but people do. And it's not going to be the end of the world as far as like universal playback on streaming services, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where you're going to start running into technical issues, and also it's just like definitely not a thing that sounds good, is when you slam that dynamic range and have absolutely no like inner dynamic peaks and valleys. It's just going to be like really, really ear fatiguing and an onslaught of stuff. So that's where we're at on this. And as far as like, so the thing is that this is a better mix, and than the first track that you sent in. I think that's a like an improvement, and I really like what's happening in the mix. But now we're just dealing with a mastering issue, and like let's diagnose this, and we might have to push back on the mix to get it. And basically what I think it is that lead line is like really 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 hot in every single respect, and it's killing you. So I'm going to open this back up and we'll kind of go through it in real time. Okay, so like right there, this section without that lead, we're hitting like -9 RMS, and we have like a healthy dynamic range. Yeah, it's that wavetable guy. It's hitting too hard. It's flooding. It's got like a lot of information, like all the way down the low end spectrum. Like that's something that I would address in the mix too. It's like you need to carve out. It's really really present at like 50 hertz, but that's where your kick is, and there's just no reason for both of them to be there. So you're gonna get back some headroom and dynamic range by addressing that. Your dynamic range is going to be more influenced by low end sounds. So if you have a lot of stuff going on in your low end, you need to be really careful about giving them separation and leaving like headroom below 100, and be really judicious with where things are living, because we're gonna get detrimental effects on our master output if we're flooding low end. So I would push back on the mix in mostly centered around that. It's that instrument is eating up tons of low end, and it'll be just as powerful if you get cutty down in your sub region, because all it's doing is clouding against what is already down there. And it's also probably just too hot in general. Just bring it back so that it's not, because it's just a huge sound, and it's going to be impactful even if you just dial it back a little bit. And that's going to save you on your master. And then kind of same deal. This mix could get overall like brightened up a little bit if you threw some stuff around from 2 to 4K. My go-to meter is the MAT, the MAAT dynamic range meter 2. I like that one. And then also I've got my monitors calibrated to you can set up everything to you do a whole thing with like an SPL meter and pink noise and your master fader and your output on your monitor controller, and basically I can that is like a whole stream on itself on how to set that up. So you can set your stuff up so that like once you know your room and your environment, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's exactly the right loud. And you can hear it. But I use the MAT to, double check and illustrate what's happening. Okay, folks, this is A Ton of Open Studio. You can send stuff to atonuvrecords@gmail.com at absolutely any time. People have sent stuff throughout the day, and I will get to those. If you are in chat and you have a question, or you've sent a track and you want me to get to it while you are live with me, then just drop a line and I will check it out while you're here. And if not, I will get to a track that was sent in earlier in the day. I think that's basically it. Cool. Cylon, good to hang out with you, and thank you for sending the tracks. Yeah, I'm going to pull up the next mix, and yeah, you can definitely feel free to share the link. I think everyone has gotten here through like people just sharing it around the internet, so that is always appreciated. And there is also a Patreon where one of the perks is you get a shout out, and I need to add someone added themselves yesterday, so I need to add them in, and I'm going to do that because that is a daily thing. Let me make sure. I have to add them for the first time. Okay, this is. Here we go. Thank you to Synux, Mason, and Tyler. It is much appreciated. And then back to the mixing. So, if anyone's here and they want me to take a listen, just let me know. If not, we're going to go to the next one, which is from. Let's do. Ossian. Actually, they sent a YouTube link. I'll do that at the end. Okay, Subi sent in a track, Season. Let's take a listen to that. And happy holidays, Cylon. Thanks for dropping in. All right, here is Season by Subi. Okay, this is another really good song, and I love listening to good songs. I think my camera froze, but that's not that important. Y'all can hear me. Uh, Here is the thing. So this is a really, really good song, and I would say that it kind of it suffers from good songitis. Okay, where there's a lot of stuff that in and it's just so well arranged, and it's exciting, and it's well sounds are nice, and there's just so much to love here. Uh, the the thing is and the mix is good. And I'm gonna restart the camera. I'm like, it's weird to have like freeze frame guy